Hello. Welcome to episode 3 of the Rival Recap Show. We're talking with gentlemen called football all day. All the time, and fuck that is hot. I'm tired this morning. I'm drinking a lot of coffee, but you know what? I wanted to do my video earlier today because I got a fuck ton of shit to do later, but that's besides the point. And I'm just excited to talk about the matchups because for the first time, guys, I won. And before we get into that matchup, just wanted to talk about a few quick things. Sedano requested that these episodes be shorter, and I will say that they have been the longest they've ever been. But I also had a few league members message Joe and I on the side to keep it the same length, if not even longer. So we're doing the best we can out here. Mine might get tightened up a little bit, but Joe's episode is going to be as long as Joe's segment is because it's however many submissions we get. And so far this year, we've gotten a lot of safe space participation, and that is much appreciated. And I think pretty much everyone loves it, except for John, who has a little bit of a problem with the length. But without further ado, guys, we're getting into the matchups. And as you know, we start with my matchup. And I had the wonderful pleasure of watching the 1 o'clock games with Mr. Ortiz, and his entire team played at 1 o'clock. Like, not just most of his guys, his entire lineup played at 1 o'clock. So we watched those games together. We watched his guys do pretty average, and my guys kind of explode. It was like Josh Allen touchdown every 5 minutes. That Antonio Gibson 73-yarder was just, I was like, oh my God, I think I just won the long 20, and I might beat Ortiz. Felt good. DJ Moore with a good game on Thursday night. Cordell Patterson showing up, 16 points, good player. Kicker defense looking good. Bobby Tonyan, not so good. He's just going to be like a touchdown every other week is my hope, and he'll have some decent weeks, some bad weeks. Ortiz, yeah, I mean, Mahomes and Eckler did 22 apiece, but nothing beyond that. Hopkins was a pedestrian. He was 5 points. They barely saw him. Tyson Williams did not get involved in that Ravens running game. That was just kind of a messy Ravens offensive game. Glad they were able to pull that out with the amazing Justin Tucker. Receivers, I don't know. On paper, Ortiz's team looks amazing. I'm sure NFL.com loves his team because I like his team, and you know. But I think they project him like almost 130 points, and can't live on those projections. Hi, every morning when you wake up and look yourself in the mirror, does your internal... Okay, Joe's texting some long thing in the group me. Anyway, guys, next matchup, good matchup, Ortiz. I'll see Ras next week. Ras, check my team photo. I'll be updating it weekly. The Clowns. All right, this was a mess of a matchup, guys. Christian versus Ian. Both of these guys' teams were kind of just falling apart in front of their faces. Christian escapes with the win, 100 points. Nothing special, but it beats Ian's terrible 83. Ian with back-to-back bad weeks. Might be time to make a move. He loses James White. I think the James White injury is going to be a few weeks, not too positive. A.J. Brown, I don't know if anything's come out yet, but he lost both those guys. They combined for 0.9. That's just you're never going to win when shit like that happens. And is Ian going to make a trade? Is Kamara on the move? Like, what's going to happen here? I mean, in theory, he could just slide in Cole Beasley and DJ Chark and slide up Sermon, but that's just not a very good starting lineup, and I'm sure he knows that, but he could. I saw what he had set for week 4, and like, I mean, it's a messy, and I know how you feel. Sometimes it just feels good to make the trade and move on, and you know what? Christian made that trade with me, and Tyreek Hill had another average week, but I still don't expect that to continue. But yeah, he lost McCaffrey, and he traded away his other running back, and he loses McCaffrey, and that's what is a stinger. McCaffrey, I'm pretty sure it's the same injury as last year, and they started with 3 to 4 weeks. I had him. 3 to 4 weeks was a fucking lie. It ended up being like 7 weeks, and then he played 1 game and missed the rest of the season. So hopefully that doesn't happen to you. Maybe Christian deals McCaffrey in an attempt to win now, but at least he's not 0-3. Both these guys are sitting at 1-2, so it's a little better. Ortiz is in sole possession of that 0-3 last place position. But I mean, Christian, you got like Michael Carter and Galladay on the bench. Michael Carter didn't even look good, but neither did the Jets, so that's besides the point. But yeah, at least you escaped with the win, Christian. That's the moral of all this. Ian, ACLU is looking messier and messier. Next matchup, Mr. Lynch still sitting in first place, 3-0, 111 to 68 for Charlie. Oh my goodness, 111 isn't even that special, but when you consider the fact that he started Quintus Cephas when he could have slid up Debo Samuel and flexed Alexander Madison, I wanted to text Lynch, but I also didn't. It turns out he was at the Patriots game, and that's probably why this was an oversight to him. But Dalvin Cook by like 12 o'clock was pretty much a lock to not be playing. And Quintus Cephas cannot excite you. Like, that might have just been something you were throwing a flyer on. You have a few injuries on your bench. But I almost wanted to text you to slide in Madison. It didn't matter. I'm glad I didn't because, you know, I mean, we all like to help each other, but no, we don't. Yeah, but you didn't need it because Charlie put up an absolute dumpster fire on the other side of the field. Charlie, I don't know what happened with your team. I mean, Juju leaving the field sucks, and then just everyone else was just super average. No one could find the end zone. I don't know if Russell Wilson had one passing touchdown, and I think that was Charlie's only touchdown the whole week. That's unfortunate. Hunter Renfrow, though, on his bench, 18 points. That was his leading scorer, was it not? Hunter Renfrow was his leading scorer. Wow. So, yeah, Week 6 or Week 7 can't come soon enough for Michael Thomas. Josh Jacobs needs to get back on the field for Charlie, and hopefully his team can just pick themselves back up, and this was a one-off. He's 2-1. Lynch is 3-0. They're both sitting in playoff spots early, so got to be feeling pretty good. Next matchup, guys, Lamb versus Sedano. This matchup came down to last night. Dak and Zeke needed 30-something points. You got 46. Good win, John. John with back-to-back wins, and I think back-to-back 120-point weeks. Not bad, Sedano, especially considering week 1, your team looked fucking horrible and everyone was voting you worst team. Helps when Zach Moss comes out with 18 points. Sterling Shepard left that game. Darius Slayton left that game. So you know what, Christian? You might have the only wide receiver on the Giants left in Kenny Golladay. But yeah, even a lot of guys had players leaving the game this week, and Sedano, your bench looked pretty good with James Conner and Christian Kirk both having good games. Your Cardinals. So yeah, guys, is Sedano's team actually in a pretty good spot? Does it always work out for the kid? I don't know. He's looking good. Other side, Kevin Lamb. Justin Fields looked fucking horrible. I don't know what he finished as, but he was definitely 6 of 20 at one point. Can I even check that? Yeah, 6 of 20 is what he finished as. That was just terrible. Dave Montgomery only had 7 points. Allen Robinson had 4 points. Darnell Mooney for Charlie had 1.5 points. That Bears offense was not moving. I see Field picked up a questionable designation. He isn't guaranteed the starting job for Sunday's game against the Lions. That doesn't surprise me because he really didn't look good. Andy Dalton's week to week, and Nick Foles is healthy. So Kevin Lamb might be looking at a quarterback. He's got all these assets on his bench, but really what he's got to focus on is getting that quarterback in there because it held him back from a win this week and I think last week as well. So Cooper Kupp continues to carry him, though. That's sick. Mixon and Taylor looking super average back-to-back weeks. Just tough when running backs don't get in the end zone. It just makes their week look a lot worse because they both had decent yards. But next matchup, guys, it is Tony versus Rast. Another one that came down to last night. Tony with 3 great weeks to start the season. 134, 128.8. Couldn't get to that 134 3 weeks in a row for 3 straight wins. But Rast, other side, 131. Probably so happy to get a win here because he would have been 0-3 had he lost. And he put up good weeks every week, too. Rast was getting hit with a bit of the unfortunate AIDS bug, and he comes away with a win. And you know what's funny is I told him, I don't know if I told him, but I said on this week's episode last week that, why are you starting Jacoby Myers? You should start Hollywood. I probably cursed Hollywood right at that very moment because this week he started Hollywood and Jacoby Myers had 10 more points, and in a really close matchup that could have, you could have lost. Tony got a few more points there, but nice win, Rast. Good to not be 0-3. You have a really strong team. It's amazing that you're 1-2. You're definitely one of the higher scorers in the league so far. Tony's sitting at 2-1. Looking real good. Saw he was floating some possible trades this morning, trying to shore up that flex spot. Pitts hasn't really come on yet. Fans had a few decent weeks. He's got Chuba Hubbard to work with. Tony's got some pieces to trade. Let's see if something happens. Joe sending discount codes for your next reorder. Okay, not really sure what that's about. Next matchup, nice win, Rast. Tony, another good week. I'm just shoving my foot in my mouth, talking bad about you to start. Big high score of the week, Joe Narduli, 166 to Weston's 124. Weston 124 ain't bad in your first loss, but Joe's 166 is just phenomenal. And Joe, it probably worked out that you didn't trade with me because I hope you don't mind me disclosing this, probably the most considered trade offer that you gave me. Weston's texting me. It's feel like people always text me during their matchup. Weston, I'm talking about you right now. Joe's most considered offer, I think, was Herbert, James Robinson, and Mike Williams for Tyreek and Josh Allen. And that seems like a lot, giving up Tyreek and Josh Allen, but Herbert, James Robinson, and Mike Williams combined for 88 points this week, and my two guys combined for like 46, so like 42 less for... Oh my God. Joe would have lost by about like 0.1 points had he made that trade and started my guys. Well, I guess you got to look at... Yeah, because he wouldn't have had a running back who would have started Latavius Murray. He still might have won. Anyway, guys, just crazy, because I just, like, I don't know, I was like, is Mike Williams, like, that good? Like, what's good? Like, Mike Williams is sitting at wide receiver 2 right now. Let's see if he can keep that up for the rest of the season. Justin Herbert picked up a little questionable designation, but he's apparently completely fine. Other side, Weston, quick talk about your guys. Your running backs actually came on pretty good this week. Javonte Williams had a decent little running and receiving game against the Jets. Clyde had 100 yards. Of course, he fumbled. Both of your guys fumbled. Cooks and Thielen and Kelsey, all good. Julio, not so much. But I mean, Weston seems in a pretty good spot, especially if his running backs are coming on. Tony Pollard had a lot of carries last night. I know Zeke got the touchdowns, but like Tony Pollard's honestly like not a bad RB3 to have. And Weston, your team's looking all right. Last matchup of the week, guys. I'm trying. I see my timer getting up there. Eric versus Spencer. And this is it, guys. Eric does not have the sole possession of the worst stretch in Gentlemen's Club history. He and Sklar still share that 2-14 through a 16-game stretch. Eric escapes with a win here at 1-2, 121 to 100. Spencer with certainly an off week. You know, he loses Dalvin Cook, but his running backs weren't the problem. His wide receivers, Terry and CD with about 10 points apiece, Hawkinson with 3, Kyler with an off week considering he was dropping over 30 the first 2. So yeah, Sklar putting up 100. Eric's got to feel good that Najee Harris coming in at 28 points. Miles Sanders only had 8 points, but I thought he looked pretty good last night. Broke off a few good plays that just their offense wasn't getting it going. The Cowboys controlled possession. Lockett, I know he left the field, but I think he came back on. Yeah, I don't see anything about an injury, so I guess he's fine. Starting Daniel Jones, 16.5 points. Broncos D against the Jets. Manny Sanders, you're throwing him up on the block after he gets 2 receiving touchdowns. We'll see if anybody bites. Cole Kmet, the man that's just going to be invading rosters all season long and putting up bad performances, started him for 2 points. Might need a different tight end. But anyway, guys, that's the matchups. We got 2 guys at 3-0, Joe and Lynch. I think I voted Lynch for best team this week. Joe's team obviously exploded and looks really good, but he had a slower start, so let's see if he can keep that up. Only guy at 0-3 is Ortiz. We got a mess of guys at 2-1, a mess of guys at 1-2, guys, and I'm just so excited to head into week 4. I feel like my team's actually going to be competitive, and hopefully I can get some wins. The Clowns putting up 139 this week. I don't have any stat requests this week. I don't think so, at least if I did and I forgot, sorry. But guys, we're going to send it to Joe. Everyone have a wonderful Tuesday, and I'm looking forward to another nice waiver period and an excellent week 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Marsh. That was a unbelievable rendition of Rival Recap Show. Welcome to Safe Space. I'm here with Spencer Sklar, Joe Narduli, and today we'll be hosting a fun little segment on the league, on the team, and we'll get right into it. All right. So, thank you. I think Joe's gonna move into the questionnaires that you all answered, and have a great week, everybody.
Michael, thank you very much for that intro there. I would say that's probably the highlight of your fantasy weekend, though. Fucking spanked him this weekend. But gentlemen, as Michael said, welcome back to Safe Space. He handled the intro. Let's get right into the segments. And we are starting off with the number 1 segment, sweeping the nation, is Saquon Barkley back? Week 1, no. Week 2, no. Week 3, no. Almost. Very much almost. Had over 20 fantasy points this week. Scored a touchdown. But he, 1, did not have over 100 yards all purpose. 2, the Giants fucking lost. And 3, watch him. He's close to being Saquon, but he's not all the way there. Like prime Saquon, you can't tackle him on the first try, and a couple times this week he got tackled on the first try. So we're almost there. Almost there. All right, let's move on to best team, worst team, our actual first segment. Best team, week 1 was Matt Lynch. Week 2, Spencer Sklar. Week 3, back to Mr. Matthew Lynch. Lynch, let's see how you did this week. The Cooper Shells, only 111 points as I filmed this mid-third quarter of the Monday night game. Tommy Brady's QB1 in 2021, which is fucking nuts. Solid game from Aaron Jones. DeAndre Swift is like top 3 running back this year. Cooper's having a meh night, but you didn't even need a big one. You mismanaged one, Lynch. I was very surprised that you put Debo as your flex and Cephas as your wide receiver 2. You should have put Cephas as your flex and then started Alexander Madison when Cook was ruled out. So you left like 22 points on the table. But regardless, Matthew Lynch moves right into first place. He's been in first place, so that didn't really make sense. But stays in first place. Another great week. Absolutely shellacked Charlie, who we will get to, who sucked this week. But yeah, Lynch, maybe it's because Succession's coming back and you look exactly like Greg, but you are having a year. Worst team, I just previewed this. I was kind of surprised by this, but by a commanding margin, Charlie got the worst team votes. Charlie was 2-0 going into this week. When I do best team, worst team, guys, like I mean like overall, not necessarily this week, but Charlie put up 68.72 points this week, and maybe that's indicative of his team being trash. I mean, Russell Wilson's good. Nick Chubb, what sucks about Chubb is like he'll lose big days to Kareem Hunt, which happened this week. I don't like Myles Gaskin. Stephon Diggs is good. Juju sucks, and I'm pretty sure he got hurt. Cook sucks. Mooney sucks. No special teams. And then Charlie's bench is just horrific. Carlos Hyde is like shouldn't even be on an NFL roster. He's using 2 spots on Michael Thomas and Deshaun Watson. Thomas I could kind of understand, but I think it's kind of time to cut the cord on Watson, Chuck. And I guess Josh Jacobs has been hurt, so he's actually a reputable bench player. And Hunter Renfrow, I mean, he had a good week this week, so maybe you should have started him at flex. But Charlie, don't love your receivers. I don't know if you should have got worst team vote, but I mean, if this is indicative of your performance moving forward, you might be looking at this guy soon. All right, let's move on to our segments. So I'm pretty sure I did this last year as a segment, like early on in the season. Who are our actual contenders and who are our pretenders, despite where the standings are shaking out right now? So you'll start with actual contenders, and I did note, like, this doesn't necessarily have to be the people at the top of the leaderboard. So we're starting off with someone that got a fair amount of votes, who's currently 0-2 and is battling not to be 0-3 right now. Mr. John Rast. Rast, a few comments about your team because you did get multiple votes. Might be 0-3 by the end of the night, but the team is coming together and I like where I'm headed. That came from Rast. Other comments not from Rast. Seems not that bad. Even with a tough start to the season, I think his roster has the potential to go off. One trade away from being really good. Never mind, he'll probably blow it all on a trade with Joe. Rast, say you lose this game tonight, you'll be 0-3, but I think the league generally feels like you have a good roster. We know that we voted you best team in the preseason. I'll give you some words of advice, and I mean this genuinely. The year before you came in, I started out 0-4, didn't make any trades and made the playoffs. So I don't think you're close to the panic button, but it just sucks that you're losing. Yeah, I'm looking at your team now. Like, the Packers have kind of underperformed, although they had a great Sunday night for you. It just seems like everything's not clicking yet. We'll see. Next vote, Ortiz. Ortiz did fall 0-3. The comment here was unlucky run, but they do think Ortiz is going to be a contender. Ortiz has a lot of big names. Mahomes is obviously great. I love Eckler. Been watching a lot of Chargers this year. Hopkins is great. Ridley has not been good this year. Eric might have won that trade, so Eric, I apologize. I talked a lot of shit there. And then Ortiz just has a lot of guys that like sometimes have good weeks, but then otherwise like put up 3 points. Damian Harris, Devin Singletary, Ayuk, Pittman, Hooper, Tyson Williams. I don't know Ortiz. The kid's a pain that I have to talk trades with. We'll see if he makes a deal. He's got the names, but this kind of reminds me of Kevin Lamb's roster last year, if any of you remember it. Like, it was loaded with big names, but they never came together, and I don't even think Kevin made the playoffs. Moving on, Lynch, 2 people voted you as a contender. I think that's obvious. You're voting for best team, and you're 1 seed right now. Sklar is going to fall to 1 and 2. But is considered a contender. I think that makes sense. He was best team last week. I touched on how he nailed his first 6 picks. Didn't have Dalvin Cook this week, although got good performances from Jamal Williams and Nyheim Hines. I think Sklar will be fine. We'll see. Cook will probably come back next season or next week. But yeah, Sklar, you got a good team. And lastly, Marsh voted for himself here. Clearly feeling himself after a solid trade with Christian this week. Marsh was looking down the barrel at the end of week 2. Trades Tyreek Hill for Montgomery and DJ Moore. DJ Moore blew out Tyreek Hill's output this week. I'm not sure what Montgomery did, but Marsh is back. Upset Ortiz, puts up 139. That's an amazing week, and I'm sure he's feeling himself. I think we're gonna get a Chipper Marsh in the front half of the Rival Recap show, which are always the best episodes, as much as I love the press march. Let's do pretenders. All right, pretenders. A lot of people got votes here. Johnny, he gets lucky every week. It's going to run out. Yeah, Johnny, I believe he officially beat Kevin and came back on Monday night. A lot of people hated Johnny's roster preseason. He has shitty week 1, but wins week 2, and he wins week 3 as well. I'm playing him next week. I'll go back to Johnny's safe space submission. When was it? It was after his week 1 loss. He always figures it out. Michael Weston, vote for you to be a pretender. The comment here was too old to have no depth. Whole fall apart late. Yeah, I mean, I wrote this in the group chat, Michael. Your receivers are old. Let's see your depth. I mean, you have Damian Williams, Robbie Anderson, Darrell Williams on the bench. Tony Pollard's a good bench piece, but I think this person's specifically talking about your receivers. Julio, like, A.J. Brown went out way early. He only put up 7.7 points. That's disappointing. Thielen has been catching a shitload of touchdowns, and Brandon Cooks has been good. But I agree with this comment. I'd be nervous about how this holds up over the course of the season. Sedano, you got another vote. This was like whoever wins between Sedano and Lamb and gets 2 and 1 will actually be a pretender. Both are frauds. That was the comment here. Lamb, you got an individual vote. The fact that he held on to Fields this long is embarrassing. Shows why he's a lower tier on the horror rankings. I feel like every year Kevin kind of does something fucking weird with his roster that nobody really gets. He drafted Justin Fields, held on to him for the first 2 weeks of the season, started him this week. He was terrible. They're good QBs on the wire. Shout out Eric, started Daniel Dimes this week. I think Cousins and Carr are available, so he could probably just fill in there. We'll see where you shake out, Kevin. I think it's too early to say something about your team. Lynch is pretending. I didn't really get that comment. Lynch, you have a good team. Ortiz got a vote here. Ortiz, you're 0-3, so this is a prove it. Like, you are pretending right now. Prove us wrong. I got a vote. There are better stacks that I live and die by than Williams and Herbert. I mean, I guess Rass has a nice stack with Roger and Adams, but Williams and Herbert have worked out well for me, so I fucking deal with it. And last person here that got a shit ton of votes, Charlie Carita. Let's roll through the comments. A sketchy 2 and 1 after a horrible performance. Team consists of a bunch of bums that may have a good game every now and then, but will need to get lucky to win on a weekly basis. He has a pretty good record, but his team is full of mediocre talent with limited depth. His team is AIDS, and he might not win again this year. So Charlie, I think that was 5 comments, which means 5 different people said you're a pretender. Charlie's historically been like aggressive in the trade market, so I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a deal this week. But dude, 69 is so bad, and you will be paying out the long 20 this week. So we'll see what Charlie does. Last thing here, Ortiz just ranked the teams instead of doing contenders and pretenders. He did tiers. He said elite, Matt Lynch, makes sense. Great, myself and Tony, makes sense. Good, Weston, Charlie, which does not make sense compared to what the league said. Sklar and Eric. Possible frauds, Lamb, Christian, Rass, Sedano, Ian, Marsh. And then he called himself an actual fraud. So Ortiz down in the dumps right now. This looks like this is going to be a long episode, so sorry, Johnny. Team name thoughts. A lot of feedback on this question. I'm just going to fucking roll through them rapid fire. I hate any names that include the names of a player on your team. Totally agree with this one. I fucking hate the puns off players on your team. What if you traded them? What if they're not even good? It's just stupid. Like names associated with draft weekend. So Tony, Ortiz, Rass, and Lamb did that. Next submission, names I like. Nice guys finish Rast and Lambda variant. I like both those names as well. Worst name, Eric. No creativity or originality. Eric's team name is Locket Rockets. His picture is pocket aces. I hate my team name. Ortiz said that about his own team name. Okay. Anybody that appreciates poker should love my name. That was from Eric. Locket, Eric, I fucking have no idea what that means. So I don't appreciate it. ACLU is a great one. ACLU is horrible. ACLU, Lambda variant, and Delta and Darts are top tier. Ian, I didn't really get moving away from Big Trust considering you still have Lamar Jackson and that was your name when you won the championship last year. Joe, I don't get it, but it's better than the That Boy stuff you're doing. And another person asked for an explanation of my team name. Yeah, last year when I lost in the playoffs, I fucking wanted to retire the That Boy franchise after I think it was 3 years that I did it. Maybe 4. I just think the Club Monaco brand is really fucking cool. I want to do something like that, so I did Club Sundays because football is on Sundays. It's not the most clever name in the world, but I kind of like the way it sounds. I have a hat that says Sundays on it, so I wear that on game day, and my little mascot's a little cutie. Moving forward, Marsh. I think it was, Marsh said this about his own team name. I think it was time I finally addressed what my team was, and the locker room really embraced it. Darnell Palmer's needs to be updated. Next submission, Darnell Palmer's is still terrible, especially when he doesn't have him on the team. Next submission, Charlie needs to stop with the Darnell Palmer's. It's just not funny anymore. Tough safe space for Charlie this week. Between the worst team, the pretenders, and now I hate the name Darnell Palmer's. It's a joke that has just been beaten to death and is irrelevant now. So maybe Charlie, change your team name this week, refresh your brand, and maybe your team will turn around. Counts of Monte Carlo is absurd. Not sure if it means anything. Okay, we have been calling out people this year in Safe Space for just dumb submissions. This comes from Matthew Lynch. The name's not Counts of Monte Carlo, it's Counts of Monte Christian, which is the playoff Counts of Monte Carlo. It's Christian's team name, and it's because he has Christian McCaffrey. Pretty simple there, Lynch. Next submission. I generally hate Ortiz's name, but Delta and Darts is okay for him, I guess. That sentence made no sense. Team names shouldn't change as frequently as they do in our league. Perennial playoff teams, especially past winners, should continue to build a brand rather than change things up. Completely agree with this. And we have one last longer submission that I loved. Could be the worst year of team names in Gentlemen's Club history. Delta and darts, kid stays up past midnight one time and thinks he's the shit. Darnell Palmer's was okay 3 years ago. CD's nuts is funny, which is probably why I've seen it in numerous other leagues. Hashtag unoriginal. Nice guys finish Rast. More like nice guys finish on Rast. Making your name the Clowns one game in should be the Clown, singular, because there's only one clown in that organization. That was from Weston. Great submission, Weston. Let's finally wrap up with some safe space. Let's end this week, as we end every week, with some safe space submissions. Only a few. Tell IJ McClip Pressure that he's gonna need more oxygen pumped into his lungs watching our matchup than Lamar Jackson will when he needs to play RB in Denver. Next submission. How many weeks is Charlie going to clog his bench with two players that won't see the field anytime soon? Touched on this earlier. Lamb, please trade me Cup. Comes from Ortiz. Who's Ortiz love more? Kevin Lamb himself or Cooper Cup? Next submission. I have nothing to say. The Jets and my team emotionally drain me. I would have been a fucking wreck if my fantasy team lost this week after the Giants lost again. Hey, NFL.com. You can guess who this is from. Put a salted rim on my b-hole and lick it clean. At least this week you projected me within 30 points instead of 40. Let's get a live look on Tony. There's 9:41 left in the fourth quarter. Nice guy. Tony is down 2.5, 2.2 maybe, to be exact. All right, it's going to be a tight one. Tony, Monday Night Magic. The Eagles have the ball right now. All right, last submission is from Weston. It's to the league. He wants to schedule a turkey bowl. So I'm actually on the East Coast. Anyone else in the tri-state area, text in the group chat. We could get together and play some touch football, watch some games, be a good time. Gentlemen, a very long episode of Safe Space just concluded. Enjoy your week. Good luck week 4. Fuck you, Johnny, if you think this was too long. Godspeed.